I'm standing in downtown Guangzhou right now, and while I'm standing here, I'm wondering about something pretty wild. How did this part of southern China become one of the most important economic regions in the planet? I'm not talking just about Guangzhou, I'm talking about the Greater Bay Area. It's a region that connects Guangzhou, Shenzhen, Hong Kong, Macau, and a string of other cities into an economic machine. We are talking about a mega region of roughly 86 million people and a combined economic of around 15 trillion renminbi. And if this were a country, it would rank among the biggest economies in the world. And the craziest part is that most of this was not even here a few years ago. For today's episode, I had this kind of weird idea, this crazy idea. Usually when you say, okay, let's find a place where technology is born, where the high-tech companies are originated, you think about going to Silicon Valley, United States, or something like that. But I'm not going that direction. In today's episode, we are going to Guangzhou. And I want to explore the hidden side of the origin of tech. And if you don't know where Guangzhou is, it's in the south of China. It's a delta of city which is so massive, and it's one of the places where the concentration of high-tech companies per square meter is really astonishing. And many of the big companies, which you also know, these international high-tech companies, have been originated there. And I want to tell the story. So in today's episode, I'm heading to Guangzhou and will tell the hidden story of how China is getting on the leading edge of technology. So join me on this travel, because today is partially a travel vlog and partially a podcast episode, which you should not miss.
I'm ready. And considering that almost every electronic device on this planet has a connection to this region, we're basically taking a field trip to the source code of the modern world.
So let's go. So right now, I'm here in Germany, embarking to a trip. Yeah, so it's raining outside and I'm making my way to the airport to go to one of the city which is the center of technology in the world. And chances are good that if you look around yourself now and see some electric device, that some of them might actually come from the place we are going right now. Let's go.
Pack my bag one more time, boarding pass in my hand. Window seat, watch the coast fade out. Then a whole new
final parking position. In accordance with ICAO requirements related to cabin safety, keep your seatbelt fastened, remain seated, and do not open the overhead bins until the seatbelt sign has been turned off. Thank you for your understanding.
but I'm alive, every mile feels like a spark. I'm chasing.
So I just landed in Baiyun Airport, which is the north of Guangzhou, and now I will try to make my way via subway until the hotel, which is in downtown in an area called Tianhe. I hope I find the way. Okay, I'm in the subway now. I'm sitting in subway right now, and I even managed to get a place to sit. And I want to make a small experiment. I want to see how many of the people around here are looking at a cell phone right now. Let's do it. Okay, let's see. I start here. Actually, I think I need to start by myself because I'm using my cell phone right now. But basically there's children, some of the smaller children here, and babies not using cell phone, and older people also not using cell phone. Other than that, everyone is using. And I counted now, let me see, I counted 18 people using cell phone and 5 not using the cell phone.
Ferdy, Do you realize how strange that number actually is? Out of 23 people, 18 were staring at a tiny glowing rectangle. If an alien walked into that subway car, it might conclude that humans spend most of their lives worshiping handheld devices. And here's the crazy part. Those phones are more powerful than the computers that helped send astronauts to the moon. Yet most of us use them to scroll through videos of cats, food, and people dancing.
Funny thing, right? Walking to the hotel right now. And for my surprise, it's very silent here on the streets. Only by the smell, I can feel that I'm in China. It smells some like food or greasy or something which is fried. 10 minutes more, then I will be in the hotel. Finally arrived. Oh my goodness. So, I got an idea for this episode on Guangzhou. I want to tell the story on how China is becoming one of the powerhouses of technology. So, for this, I will visit one of the universities here in Guangzhou, the South China University of Technology. How about that? Now, while I'm making my way, I want to start telling you a personal story, which I think is very, very powerful, and it connects to the whole area of Guangzhou, Shenzhen, Hong Kong, Macau, and a bunch of other cities. And it's the story of Ren Zhengfei. It is a person who had a very hard earning, almost a brutal reinvention story. And it relates to the story of the whole region. Ren Zhengfei's story starts in Guizhou in 1944. He was born there and grew up in a poor family with his parents who were teachers and he spent his part of his childhood in a mountain village. He was born on 25th of October 1944 in Guizhou. His grandfather died prior to his graduation from university, and during the Japanese occupation, his father migrated to south of Guangzhou to work on a military factory. And after 1949, his father was appointed as president of the middle school in Duyun. And it's there where he met Zhengfei's mother, Chen Yangzhao, a senior teacher at the school. Ren has 5 younger sisters and 1 younger brother. So he spent his primary and junior high school years in a mountain village. So it was a very simple environment. And you must imagine back then in 1960s how China was a really completely different country than it is today. And during his high school, he only wore one single layer of coat, because he didn't even have enough money to have a proper shirt. And in 1960, during the serious famine in Guizhou province, Ren's family was really starving. And to support his family, Ren implemented a strict system of food distribution in his family. Ren often went to mountains to pick wild fruits, and no matter how hungry he was, he did not eat the ratios of his family. And thanks to this very strict ratio of food, none of his family members starved to death. Yeah, and this is so, if you think 1960, it's not that long time ago, right? And in 1963, the 19-year-old Ren was then admitted to Chongqing Institute of Architectural Engineering, and then he made him 2 white shirts and a pair of sheets, which he then wore throughout the 4 years of college. And in 1966, when Mao Zedong launched the Cultural Revolution, Ren was studying in the college and received a letter mentioning that his father has been dismissed and criticized for his experience working in the military factory. And in 1970s, he obeyed a policy directed at college students to leave the school to join army for training. So that's the China we are living there in the 1970s. it's not a easy place to live. It's a place where you have scarcity, you have poverty. And for century, Guangzhou was already important. Yeah, it was a poor city, yes, but it was also a trading city. But in the late 1970s, China was opening up. And in the south, one idea changed everything. They wanted to make a small experiment, to create a place where rules bent a little bit, could be a little bit adjusted, and where you could experiment with a new type of economy. And that idea became the special economic zone. And the most famous name in that story is Shenzhen.
From humble beginnings of Shenzhen City.
It used to be a small city in the border town next to Hong Kong, not really a big place for tech. But because Hong Kong was right next door, it brought capital, know-how, international connection, and a window to the world. And then Shenzhen became the experiment, and Hong Kong became the bridge. So it's right beside Hong Kong is located Shenzhen, and it's on the mainland China, and Hong Kong at that time was administrated by English government, I think. Then the floodgate really opened because it started to accelerate quite fast. Factories came in first, then came in all the workers to work on these factories, then the infrastructure was built, and then real estate, technology, skylines started to grow, and Guangzhou, the old giant, became one of the anchor. Shenzhen was the rocket which was developing so fast, but Guangzhou became like a very strong city to support all what Shenzhen needed to develop. And what makes this area actually fascinating is that it did not grow only in line like a very straight plan or something. It grew like a chain reaction, really. And you had Guangzhou already was deeply connected to the trade and manufacturing, and you had Shenzhen, which became a laboratory of capitalism inside a socialist country. And then on the other side, you had Hong Kong, which had long been Asia's great financial and logistics center, and each one played a different role in this delta, in this. And the government keep reinforcing the system. So they build roads, ports, high-speed rails, airports, bridges, and new districts and trading zones were building everywhere. And policy after policy, that region was built. Yeah, okay, now I'm in the university here of South China University of Technology. It's a beautiful place, and what I've noticed here is very calm and green, and there's a lake here close. And of course, if you want a place to evolve from a cheap production into some advanced innovation, yeah, you need talent. And you need lots of it. And Guangzhou has strong university base, including major institutions like Sun Yat-sen University and South China University of Technology. And Shenzhen also has built fast too, because they have the SUS Tech, which was founded in 2011. And then you have Hong Kong's top universities. And in reality, the interesting part is how education across the region is starting to merge. And there are cross-border campuses, joint programs, and a lot of new institutional links designed to keep the talent in the Bay Area instead of watching it drain to Beijing, Shanghai, or even overseas. And that's a huge deal. Because the real question is not just, can this region build products? But the question is if this region can keep the best people. And increasingly, the answers seem to be yes. Because what happens here is the students, they graduate, they stay local, they join startups, they work for major tech firms, and even enter in finance or move to research or advanced manufacturing. The ecosystem which is created in this region is rich enough that lots of talent can see the future in this region without leaving it. And that's how this area starts to become self-sustaining.
A lot of regions can attract factories. Some can attract companies. But keeping millions of talented people is much harder. What happened around Guangzhou, Shenzhen, and Hong Kong wasn't just industrial growth. It was the creation of an entire ecosystem. The governments invested heavily in infrastructure, universities, research centers, transportation, and housing. Companies created opportunities that universities trained engineers and entrepreneurs, and those people then started new companies, which created even more jobs. It's a cycle that feeds itself. Think about it. If you're a young engineer in this region, you can study at a top university, intern at a major tech company, launch a startup, find investors, and manufacture a product, all within a few hours of where you live. Very few places in the world offer that density of opportunity. So the real secret isn't that they convinced 18 million people to stay. It's that they built a place where ambitious people feel they have a future. And once that happens, talent doesn't just stay. It attracts even more talent.
Yeah, I guess you're right. The turning point for Ren Zhengfei came when China began changing the economic system. In the early 1980s, Ren moved to South Shenzhen, ending his years in the army and entering a city that was completely transforming, was building up from the ground on. And Ren's own career went through a painful reset because he struggled with bureaucracy, and when he just landed in Shenzhen, he was cheated out of a large sum of money and he resigned from his job. So at that point, he was living in a tiny rented space with his family and his future was completely unsecure. And then in 1987, at the age of 43, Ren and his partners founded Huawei in Shenzhen. It began selling program-controlled switches. So maybe you know this telecommunication at that time was all with a cable, and you had that physical switches which can connect the different stations, the different communication stations, different telephones, and that was equipment you would need in some phone centrals and etc. Ren was reselling it, basically buying it from the manufacturer and reselling it for the Chinese market. And Ren, in his philosophy of how he deal with his company, he was not really chasing quick profit. Many times he rejected short-term money-making schemes in favor of something which was longer lasting. And when Huawei struggled with capital, with parts from its suppliers, and with competition, then he kept the company alive by reinvesting in research and development to build his own products. Now, of course, at that time, 1987, 1990s, China was needing communication infrastructure desperately, and Ren believed that a local company could build it. And Huawei's early growth was very closely tied to Shenzhen's rise, and the company expanded into research, manufacturing, and eventually even expanded into global markets, following a simple logic of moving fast, build hard, and keep going even when things are unclear. Yeah, for a long period of time, this Perl River Delta was known as the factory of the world. You had cheap labor, you had big export volumes, you had assembly line, electronics, toys, clothing, appliance, you had a vast amount of things. It was a huge area for production. But that was only the beginning, because today this region is not just making low-cost products, it is moving up in the value chain. Now in the area, you find advanced manufacturing, robotic, electric vehicles, drones, telecommunication equipment, semiconductors, you have software design, and increasingly also AI-related industries. Shenzhen especially has become almost mythic in this regard. It is home of companies like of course we said, Huawei, but there's also the birthplace of Tencent, DJI, BYD, and Ping An. Names that are now globally known, but began with the same logic, growing with the region. How about Ren Zhengfei? Today, at the age of 81, Ren Zhengfei is still deeply influential. He is not running Huawei day to day. He remains Huawei's founder and a central strategic voice, but much of the operational leadership is handled by the company's rotating leadership structure and senior executives, including his daughter, Meng Wanzhou, who serves as Huawei's key leader and chairwoman. And what's fascinating is that Ren's role today is almost closer to that of an elder statesman than a CEO. In February 2025, he attended to a high-profile meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping alongside founders from companies such as BYD and Xiaomi. And during that meeting, Ren argued that China's worries about lacking advanced chip and operating systems had erased significantly, reflecting Huawei's role in China's pushing for technological self-sufficiency. So, and these companies, of course, play a huge role in making China self-sufficient in technology. And how is Huawei doing today? Because we know all these Western sanctions, which are quite hard on the company. And back in 2009, many analysts believed that the US sanctions might permanently cripple Huawei by cutting access to advanced chips or Google services. But instead, Huawei survived. And then it started growing again. And in March 2026, Huawei reported revenue of about 881 billion yuan. And it's the second highest annual revenue ever. The company today is far more diversified because they act in telecommunication infrastructure, they have smartphones, operating systems, automotive, AI and chips, and Huawei is also heavily investing in AI computing. So, if you visit Shenzhen today and look at Huawei's enormous campus, it's easy to think that Huawei is this giant company and it always was big like this, but from the early beginning, Ren Zhengfei remembers arriving at the city that barely existed. A city of construction sites, factories, and of a lot of uncertainty. But today, Huawei is one of the symbols of China's technological ambitions. But in many ways, the company's story is really the story of Shenzhen itself. Both started as an experiment. Both were underestimated. Both survived moments when many people thought they would fail. And both ended up helping to define one of the most remarkable economic transformations in modern history. So yeah, now I'm back here in my little underground in Germany. But when I think back and I was standing there in the city center of Guangzhou with all this traffic noise and the cars and the skylines, and I felt the contrast of the high tech, of the modern, and at the same time, the very simple environments, like people drying their clothes out of the window. But standing there, I didn't feel just like I was standing in a Chinese city. I felt somehow like standing inside this massive experiment where you have Guangzhou, which giving the roots, the production power. Then you have Shenzhen, which gives velocity. And you have Hong Kong, which give global reach. And now the whole region is trying to become something even bigger. Not just a factory, not just finance or tech zone. It's trying to become a place that can define what the future looks like.
There was mud on the banks and rice.
And with this, we end the tech stories of today. I hope you liked this insight. Thank you, Didi, also for being here with me, moderating this.
Thank you, Ferdy. I've really enjoyed being part of the journey, too. We started with a simple question about how this region became such a technological powerhouse. And suddenly we're standing in Guangzhou looking at the story of millions of people, giant companies, universities, factories, and ideas all coming together in one place. And that's what I love about tech stories. We don't just talk about technology. We talk about the people, the places, and the decisions that shape the world we live in today. So thanks for letting me ride shotgun on this adventure. And to everyone listening, wherever you are in the world, keep asking questions, keep exploring, and keep being curious. Because every piece of technology around us has a story behind it.
And if you like this content, make sure to leave a review, follow or recommend. I see you again next week here when we tell another insightful story of tech. Until then, take care and bye-bye.
To rest at dawn, workshop doors rolled open and the old life moved on. Guangzhou kept its heartbeat in the market squares. Shenzhen learned to race ahead with a future to share. By the glass and the cable, by the bridge and flame, every name unseen here still built this place. Delta of hands, Delta of hands, built from the ground up by millions of hands. Delta of hands, Delta of hands, one long river and one brave plan. I can hear the footsteps under every tower. The first brick, the last shift, the patience, the power. Not just steel and screens, not just speed and light, but a million tired mornings turning into bright. Delta of hands, Delta of hands, built from the ground up by millions of hands. Delta of hands, Delta of hands, one long river and one brave plan. From field to skyline, from boat to bridge, the future was carried by the lives that lived. Delta of hands, Delta of hands, Delta of hands.